and welcome to the Ecoholics Heart to Heart with Toppers. So, our guest for today is the Indian Economic Service topper, Shagun Singh. Welcome to the show, Shagun. We hope that you could let the little secrets out now since you have emerged victorious. So, yeah, do you want to say something?
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. And it's a great pleasure to be here.
Okay. So every topper has this result checking story and the family reactions. What is your story and how was the celebration that followed for you?
Basically, I was staying in Delhi with my sister. So actually, I was going somewhere. Then suddenly I saw a WhatsApp message that the result has came. So then I opened the result and then I immediately told my sister. So actually that was a very happy moment for me. I think everybody understands that. And then, ma'am, obviously later I told my family and friends. So everyone was actually really happy because I would say a very long journey to be here. So yeah.
Yes, definitely. So it would be nice if we could start with a brief background about yourself so that the aspirants can relate to your journey more.
So if I talk about my schooling, so ma'am, I have done my schooling from Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya till 10th class. I would like to especially mention this because the people from, as you know, JNV is for majorly people from rural background. So till 10th, I have done schooling from there. And then after 12th, I have done my schooling from a private school from Shamli. And then, ma'am, for my bachelor's and master's in economics, I graduated from IIT Kanpur in 2018. And post that for 2.5 years, I worked as a consultant at a consulting firm called EXL Services in Gurgaon. And then after that, I was preparing for the government exams.
All right. Nice to know about that. So how many attempts did you take?
For the economic service paper?
Yes, for the Indian Economic Services.
Actually, this is my 5th attempt at the economic service paper.
All right. So what were the mistakes which you faced in the previous times, in the previous attempts, and how you learned from your mistakes?
So, ma'am, I think, ma'am, one of the first mistake which I think I committed in the previous attempts was not focusing on the general English and general studies paper, which I think I did this time. So I don't know, ma'am, the marks are not out yet, but I think that was one of the biggest mistakes which I made. I just used to study economics only. So, but yeah, even if the weightage is 20% to English and general studies paper, so that actually, that can actually create a big impact. And then, ma'am, I would say, ma'am, in the previous attempts, actually, I was more focused on the mechanistic thing of the economics, not like explaining things and drawing graphs. And so, ma'am, those things actually, I think that made a difference.
That's how you learned from your previous mistakes.
Yes, ma'am.
So were you a working candidate when you were preparing this time as well?
No, ma'am. Actually, I resigned from my job in 2021.
Okay.
Yes, and after that, after resigning from my job, this was my second attempt.
Okay. So how did you manage your time? Like the whole day, how you organized it for studying the Indian Economic Services syllabus?
So basically, ma'am, when I resigned from the job, then I studied more because I had more free time. And then I got to know the parts of the syllabus where I am good at and parts of the syllabus where I need some working. So, for example, let's say for Indian economy, I think that was more. That part I think I managed well previously as well. It's just that the output was not there due to the mechanistic thing which I told you about. But the paper 3 part and especially paper 2 part as well. So that was something where I was lacking, and I focused more on these parts, on these things, and less on the microeconomics paper and the Indian economy paper, because I think on that part I was already good at. And ma'am, obviously, as I told you earlier, this time I also gave importance to the GS paper as well.
Okay, all right. So, what was the motivation behind getting into IES? Like, why you chose IES over other competitive examinations?
So, ma'am, obviously, ma'am, when we were doing the study, the graduation and post-graduation part, then I got to know that there is an exam called Indian Economic Service. Obviously, everyone knows other services as well. And then, ma'am, when I was doing the study, so basically I saw the papers which were conducted by UPSC. So I saw those papers, and I thought that this is something that I can pursue. And obviously, ma'am, if you are doing if you are dedicating 5 years of study to studying economics, then everyone wants that in their future also they contribute to the policy making, which has been done at such a high level using the knowledge which they have gained through their masters and bachelors. So, I mean, ma'am, I'm grateful to be given this opportunity.
Right, right. So, policy decisions are in good hands now. Okay. So, well begin is half done. So, how did you start the preparation actually? Like, how much time did you take to complete the syllabus one?
So, ma'am, actually, ma'am, since I began preparation for this exam back in 2018, so I can't say, like, basically it's like a compound interest thing, right?
Yes.
Yearly, the preparation gets added, and then you don't know how much time you have devoted. But, ma'am, if I remember, then in the beginning, actually, I focused more on paper 3 and paper 4, because if you see the syllabus, the paper 3 part is actually supposed to be like the syllabus is manageable as compared to paper 1 and paper 2. So, and then, ma'am, obviously for Indian economy, it's not as technical as the like other 3 papers. But yes, ma'am. So, I mean, that's the whole point now.
So, since you're mentioning about these papers very well, like you're giving us a complete description about them. So, let's try to understand the tricks of the trade actually. So, out of the 4 papers, which paper particularly did you find the most difficult? So, already you have mentioned that you were not giving enough focus towards paper 1 or paper 2, like paper 3 and Indian economy were a good strength, where you had a good strength. But when we talk about which out of the 4 paper you find the most difficult?
I remember, ma'am, in my first attempt in 2018, I prepared well for paper 3. And I mean, ma'am, my marks were also reflecting that paper 3 was something which I was good at, because majorly it had market structure type questions. So in my college time as well, the study which I had done in market structure, I was actually like supposed to be good at. So, but ma'am, after those years, the paper 3 part actually became very challenging, because as you know, in the recent years, the trend is that they ask Indian economy type questions in paper 3, and the questions are not so straightforward, I feel. So, I mean, ma'am, tackling paper 3 was actually a major challenge which I felt. And but ma'am, actually, if we prepare for general studies, then I felt that especially for environmental part, and if we study properly in general studies, that actually helps in paper 3 as well, because the weightage to environmental economics questions is actually increasing, and that actually helps.
Okay, nice to know that. So, can you briefly tell us about the sources and books that you referred?
So, ma'am, for microeconomics, I had like my coaching notes as well, and then, ma'am, I had done some numericals practice from Nicholson and Snyder. And for macro, ma'am, basically, ma'am, I refer to coaching notes there as well. But if there is something which I don't understand, then as everyone know, that the book is called Freud. So Freud is actually very popular book. And then, ma'am, coming to the international trade part, the book I think everybody knows is Salvatore. So I studied some topics from there and some topics from the coaching notes as well. And then, ma'am, for Indian economy especially, I had made some online notes. So I think actually this time it helped me quite a bit, because I was preparing those notes actually from long time back, but they were not helping me. But I think this time I trimmed those down and jotted down some facts and data and some economist names. So I think this time they helped me a lot.
Okay. Please let us know about some paper-wise special value additions that you did, and you feel that the other students do not do that.
For other students, ma'am, I don't know, but I can tell you about the value additions which I felt which can help in fetching more marks, I think. So,
Yeah.
ma'am, as everyone knows, ma'am, in paper one, the paper is in microeconomics. So, ma'am, actually, one of my friend told me, and he's from maths background, but actually, I actually applied it here. So, ma'am, actually, so as we know, the format is the introduction, body, conclusion. But in numerical, what we can do is, in place of like introduction, we can just simply put a box, and then we can say given, and then we can simply note down all the values, and we can give proper equation naming, equation 1, equation 2, and then, ma'am, when we write the answers, I can write the derivation or proof, like whatever is asked in the question, and then we can just write properly as well, and box all the expressions. And then, ma'am, in paper two, I mean, ma'am, we can do some interlinkage with the Indian economy part as well. I mean, in the conclusion, we can say something about the economies from like the current world examples and the Indian economy. Let's say there is a question on some trade model, then we can give an example of the trade between two countries and say that can happen. And then, ma'am, I feel, ma'am, the paper three part actually that is actually where we can apply this value addition part significantly, because here the questions are more of a generic type. Then, ma'am, we can for environment we can use even some code as well, and some data from the IPCC reports, and so those type of things, ma'am, which and then, ma'am, in Indian economy, that there's a lot the name of basically data, some economists point of view, and their specific things which we can quote, ma'am. Then I think that can be a good value addition.
Right. So your focus was on to the paper presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good strategy to go with. All right. So can you also help us with your revision strategy? Like, how do you revise the whole syllabus once it was completed?
So, ma'am, actually, I feel, ma'am, that there is, like I told you earlier, that we read something, then we forget about it, then we go back, then we read some. So, ma'am, actually, this time I actually got to know the reason why toppers say that limited revision yields the maximum. Limited sources yield the maximum result, because if we keep reading the same thing over and over again, then it gets stuck in our mind, and we are able to reproduce that in the exam. So, ma'am, coming to ma'am strategy of revision, I mean, ma'am, I just used to revise, whatever is there in the exam. And the one thing which I think I did was, just before going into paper, I just used to skim through, like not going into too much technical stuff, like the equation and everything. But just before entering the exam, I just used to look at some key points and some keywords, or some specific data which I can present in the paper, and which can help in the answers.
Okay. So, when we talk about a day before the exam, just one day before the exam. So, Shagun, what do you typically do on that day?
As you know, ma'am, I have told you that there is some data or economist's name or some specific committee report or so. Ma'am, actually, I mean, ma'am, that part actually needs to be revised a day before the exam, so that the evaluation that actually comes ahead in the paper. So, I mean, and some codes, etc. So, ma'am, I think, ma'am, those needs to be revised.
Okay, we have got an idea on this. When it comes to IES exams, answer writing practice is one key element to clear the exam, which will help you to clear the exam. So, how much answer writing practice have you done, especially while preparing for the exam?
So, ma'am, as I had told you that I had more time since 2021.
Right.
So, ma'am, actually, what I felt, the difference which made in this attempt was due to the answer writing part. Actually, when I researched about this exam more after 2021, I realized that I was not answering the questions even in the introduction, body, conclusion format, which is supposed to be the norm by everyone. So that actually comes if you do answer writing practice only. So if I remember correctly, like I think the 2021 paper was in July, but yeah, after October, ma'am, I think, ma'am, for 2 to 3 months, I did answer writing practice exclusively, and ma'am, especially focusing on the Indian economy part, because Indian economy part is more about presentation, because the knowledge part here is more limited.
Right.
But ma'am, coming to the technical papers as well, as I had told you earlier, if we write things properly, like naming the equations and giving the data in introduction or conclusion, ma'am, I think that thing also works. So yeah, ma'am. So actually, answer writing makes lots of difference in the.
Right. So ultimately, answer writing practice have been really helpful to you at least.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's what I.
All right. When we talk about GS, since you mentioned about it in the beginning as well. So this time, when you cleared the exam, how much did you prepare for GS, or basically, how did you prioritize the GS and the other subjects as well?
So, ma'am, as you know, like I told you earlier, my focus was more on the answer writing part on this attempt in economics. But for general studies, also, like the basic books, which people use for the civil services exams. So that actually helps in this paper as well, because since the paper is set by UPSC in both the exams, so the nature of questions is more or less same. Then, ma'am, coming to the GS preparation, ma'am, I mean, ma'am, if we read books once or twice, and then, ma'am, obviously, in general studies, answer writing plays a very important part. And I mean, ma'am, there are some specific portions for history. We need to draw some graphs, and for geography also. And then for the current affairs question, we need to give some data or whatever is in the news. So, I mean, ma'am, that part obviously helps. So, ma'am, yeah. So, I mean, general studies focus was actually more this time as compared to the other attempts.
Okay, got it. After clearing the exam, when it comes to interview, so how was your interview experience, and how did you actually prepare for it?
So basically, I focused more on to improving myself, because, ma'am, I am not someone who is like very confident at all the times, and just goes into the interview room. So my first strategy was to give as many mocks as possible, and as you know, I had given mocks at Ecoholics as well. And I'm actually that actually helped me a lot in the actual interview, because believe it or not, ma'am, actually some technical questions they were directly asked in the Ecoholics mock interview as well, and they directly asked me in the final interview, UPSC interview as well.
Really nice to know that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, yeah. So my focus was to give as many mocks as possible, and whatever feedback is there, because, ma'am, in some mocks the feedback was you need to brush up on current affairs. And then, ma'am, uh, actually, in some mock interview, the focus was, just focus on the body language. But yeah, so ma'am, whatever was the feedback, I just tried to incorporate that. And then, ma'am, coming to the final interview, ma'am, actually, it was a very nice experience, I should say, because I mean, ma'am, first time I've seen an interview where, actually we were all sitting in a round table format, and one interviewer was just, right beside me, and he was asking me questions. So actually, it was a very new and pleasant experience.
Nice to know about that. So, experiences count a lot in our life.
Yes.
Were there any high or low points while giving your interview? And if you face some, at a point, you were facing a low, like you were facing that, I don't know this, or maybe I'm not ready for this question. And how did you deal with that question?
There were actually highs and lows in the interview. So I'm just when I entered the interview room, they grilled me a lot about why I want to join the services, why 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 am I not starting a startup. So ma'am, that actually took a lot of time. And then ma'am, there was another low point, where they asked me, we will ask you only one question from your choice of field. So I said macroeconomics. Then they asked me about social accounting, which I did not have any idea about. But then, ma'am, my focus was, only on just, to deal with the next question and, not think about whatever happened earlier. And fortunately, ma'am, then they asked me the next question, which was on full employment, which thankfully I knew about. So, yeah.
So, right. So, focusing on the part which was a really good thing for you. Like sometimes this happens, candidates start focusing towards the thing, oh, I have not been able to answer this. And then the whole process will go into a bad state. So that's a really good thing to know, that you focused on the next level instead of focusing on what just happened. Right. So when we see a lot of candidates, there are going to be some people which get motivated by the outcome, right, to make them on the go. While there are some who focus on the process. Which were you? Like, which person were you in this?
Ma'am, I can't say for sure, but ma'am, obviously, ma'am, after after resigning from my job in 2021, especially the time where I had lots of time. So, ma'am, obviously, ma'am, then if there is free time, then we need to study and do this and do that, so that we can crack those exams. So, ma'am, I think, ma'am, it's better to focus on the process and not worry about the results. I mean, ma'am, I think this is what everyone, every great person say. Like, I'm not a great person, but everyone who has achieved something like that, they say.
Yes. And you have actually proved with your actions that you were enjoying the process also. That's why you were consistent on the hard work you have done and achieved this. So, how was your experience with Ecoholics?
So actually, ma'am, I gave 2 mock interviews with Ecoholics. And I mean, ma'am, as I have already told you earlier, some of the questions were actually pretty direct, and they were asked in the final interview. And then, ma'am, actually the feedback given were by Sanat sir and ma'am other faculties as well. That was actually really helpful to me as well, because I was trying to implement it, so that I can replicate it in the final interview and get as many marks as possible, so that I can clear the cutoff.
Okay, good to know that. So every topper out there has a great support system behind it. Who has been the pillars of your preparation?
So, ma'am, I mean, ma'am, obviously my whole family, especially my parents and my eldest sister. So, I mean, ma'am, there are phases of highs and lows during the preparation, but I mean, ma'am, if you talk to the people who are always behind you and who keep pushing you, so that actually helps a lot. So I was staying away from my home, but whenever I used to feel lonely, I just I used to call up and talk to them. And then ma'am, also like my friends as well, I whenever I felt I just need to talk to someone, I used to call up to them and just have normal chat, etc., so that mind is refreshed and we are ready for the next day. So
And you gain back motivation, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Right. Okay. So thanks a lot, Shagun, for being a part of our family. We hope that the students also benefit a lot from your insights and come as your junior officers in the upcoming batches too. Thank you. So if
Thank
you
you.
have a few words for the Ecoholics team, it might be conveyed and it will up their spirits. Also, a motivational phrase to the aspirants you like to share that kept you motivated and it is going to keep them also motivated.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, for the Ecoholics team, especially, ma'am, I want to thank Sanat sir, especially because actually just before the interview, we had a one-on-one session where he guided me on other things and how to maintain the body language and how to keep calm in the interview situations and not think about the other things. So, I want to, ma'am, especially thank Sanat sir, and then, ma'am, Priyansh sir also. He has also been a support to me. So whenever I used to reschedule, he was willingly, doing the, was able to do those things. And ma'am, obviously a Sauri ma'am as well, because I also interacted with her. So ma'am, that was actually also fruitful discussion. And ma'am, coming to the aspirants, ma'am, I would just like to say that just keep going. Don't think what's in the past, what's in the future, what's in the whatever has happened has happened. Whatever will happen will happen. And ma'am, everyone just needs to do their work diligently, and rest the universe will take care of itself. So yeah.
Right. Quite a good thing to know that. So thank you for taking out time in these times of celebration. We wish you all the very best for all your future endeavors, Shagun. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.